But fellas, you're almost that close to the football season, the pigskin season. ESPN, they released a list, a top 10 QBs executive list. Now, no surprise, number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. Number 2 is Josh Allen. 3 is Joe Burrow. 4 is Lamar Jackson. But however, 5th, my guy, Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. 6, you got Matthew Stafford. 7th, Justin Herbert. 8th, Jared Goff. 9th, Jalen Hurts. 10th, Baker Mayfield. And honorable mentions are CJ Stroud and Jordan Love. I will say this. I've said before about Jalen Hurts. I think he's top 10. Sorry, champ. I'll say it again, man. He's top 10. Do I think he's top 5? No. But I do think he's a good enough quarterback that you can build around and win with. Jaden Daniels at top 5. Look, I understand. And we had this conversation with our guy Thomas. Shout out to the On the Pod podcast. He asked the question, Russell Wilson or Jaden Daniels. I went with Russell Wilson based on longevity. You and Thomas went with Jaden Daniels because of the logic. When you think the Washington Commanders, you think of Jaden Daniels. Because without Jaden Daniels, where would Washington be? Russell Wilson, on the other hand, you think of the Legion of Boom defense. You think of Pete Carroll. You think of beast mode. And then you think of Russell Wilson. Do I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? Yes. Would I put him top 5 yet? Not there yet. I still need to see a little bit more. The shocker to me, CJ Stroud is not even in that top 10 list. I understand he had a down year last season. I understand he regressed last year. After all, he was coming off an excellent rookie season before Jaden Daniels. We had conversations about CJ Stroud having arguably the best rookie season. One point, CJ Stroud was in the conversation for the league MVP. But Patrick Mahomes, no surprise, number 1. No problem with Josh Allen, number 2. Burrow at 3, because even though the Bengals missed the playoffs, you look at Burrow, the numbers that he put up that season. Lamar Jackson, shout out to Todd Monken, your Georgia Bulldogs, your former Georgia Bulldogs offensive coordinator, BRF and champ, because you look at the last 2 seasons with what he has done with Lamar Jackson. I mean, Greg Roman did a great job with Lamar in his second year, but Todd Monken is taking it to a different level. And he doesn't have a number 1 like a Joe Burrow has. Like, he has Zay Flowers as his best target. And Zay Flowers is a good wide receiver, but he's not like a Jamar Chase. But to me, Jaden Daniels, I thought Jaden Daniels at top 5. Not there yet. He's definitely top 10. I have him somewhere around that 6, 7-ish range. I got no problem with Jalen Hurts in the top 10. I don't think he's top 5 because I think there are other things you factor with the Philadelphia Eagles. BRF, I'm going to let you go first. Do you have a problem with this list?
If you're looking at consistency of play and we're going off of the 2024 season, you got the 10 right now. You got the 10 names correct. I think you got the right 10. As far as order, me personally, if we're talking about order, the top 4, the top 4 is right in my opinion. I mean, if you got Lamar 3, I ain't got no beef with it. I personally think Joe Burrow's third best quarterback in the league. I think they got the top 4 right. Matthew Stafford's my 5. I don't care what anybody says. Matthew Stafford's my 5. Matthew Stafford to me is still top 5 quarterback in the league. I mean, just even at his age, his level of consistency, he's still got that arm strength. His accuracy is just like, it's almost like grown. It's almost like him becoming a veteran and just understanding the game and the IQ. It's just like everything's gone up, and he's like he's even like a better for me. He's even like a better passer than he was at Detroit in terms of just sheer being able to just just nail every throw, and he's always been able to nail every throw. But I think you know how they say there's levels to this, and I think he's at another level with his accuracy being in LA. So for me, Matthew Stafford's my 5. 6. Let's see. I would probably go. Then I'd probably go. I mean, what can you say about Jaden Daniels, man? I think Jaden. I would put Jaden Daniels at 6. I got no problem with him at 6. Um, Probably go Justin Herbert. Probably go Herbert 7. I would go. I'd go Herbert 7, and then I would probably go. I would. You got Hurts, you got Goff, you got Mayfield. Um,
Baker's definitely top 10. Just look at
Baker,
the past two seasons.
I think Baker's right at 10. I would put Hurts in front of Goff though. I
That's
would
fair.
put Hurts in front of. I put Hurts in front of Goff. I mean, just from a can can I trust you in big moments, regardless of who's on your roster? Can I trust you to make a play in a big time situation? Jalen Hurts. I'm putting Jalen. I mean, in terms of from a pressure standpoint, I'm putting Jalen Hurts over Jared Goff from that standpoint. Baker. The only reason why I have him at 10, I haven't seen it enough from him in big time moments yet. We've gotten glimpses of it, particularly that game where they when he was with the Cleveland Browns still, and they went up to Pittsburgh and they ran Pittsburgh out their own building. I mean, a lot of that was due to the defense, but Baker was still making good throws. He was still making big plays in that game. But yeah, I think they got the 10 names correct. But yeah, like I said, I do a little reshuffling. Like I said, I would go Mahomes 1, Allen 2, Burrow 3, Lamar 4. I would probably go Stafford 5. I would go JD 6. I go Herbert 7. I go Hurts 8, Goff 9, and Baker Mayfield 10.
I ain't got no problem with that. Talk to me, champ.
I don't have a problem with Jaden Daniels being at number 5. No problem. The thing is this. Nobody expected them, or the Washington Commanders to do anything this year. He was the sole reason that they were winning. Now, Scary Terry, you put the running backs by committee. They did a lot in the scheme, Cliff Kingsbury. But when you really put things into perspective, Jaden Daniels was the focal point of that team. He was the focal point of that team. He was the game breaker that they need. He could change it around in a second. We talk about CJ Stroud's year. I mean, you could argue that Jaden Daniels had an even better year. Made it all the way to the NFC Championship. In the division with the Philadelphia Eagles, had it not been for a lot of turnovers and a lot of mental mistakes that they had made in the NFC Championship, they would have stood a better chance. But turnovers on kickoff, turnovers on special teams, turnovers everywhere, and they was not able to stand a chance, especially that Philadelphia.
And they couldn't stop Saquon.
And
I told you when Saquon scored that first touchdown on that first drive, I knew that was a ball game.
Yeah, I thought you were just talking. But he said he inboxed me that day. He said, "Champ, this over." I'm like, no, man, because I wanted his Commanders to win, man. But I'm like, no, it ain't, man. Let's give it some time. But no, it was over.
Did I think the Commanders had any chance when they put their memorabilia on the Rocky statue, which we all know that's a curse?
Yeah, that's a curse. No, you did not. You said no. It is like, yeah, but I have no problem with it. I have a problem with the top 3. We got to stop. Look, I love Joe Burrow. Let's keep it all the way a buck. That Super Bowl appearance that he made and that victory that he had over Patrick Mahomes is becoming a distant memory. It's becoming a distant memory. And I'm just going to be real. The Bengals are not doing him any favors because they haven't signed Stewart and they haven't signed Hendricks. That defense, they might well just go out there and put the factory workers on the defensive side of the ball. They keep this up. So the thing is, he hasn't done a lot since that time. I know that people are going to say, well, he has his offensive onslaught. But the thing is, do you really want to become the modern day version of Dan Faust? Because that's where he's headed at this point. A quarterback that can put up a lot of numbers, but guess what? You're not going to make it too far in the playoff because you don't have no defense. And that victory that he scored over Patrick Mahomes is becoming a distant memory. I'm putting Josh Allen at number 2. I'm putting Lamar Jackson at 3. I'm putting Lamar at number 3. Then Joe Burrow. Lamar's a 2-time MVP. Had one. That's one of the greatest seasons since Randall Cunningham that did not win an MVP. That's one of the greatest dual threat quarterback seasons since Randall Cunningham that did not win the MVP. Remember in 1990, Randall Cunningham remember we talked about that on our show, BRF, the biggest injustice of MVPs. Remember, Randall had 3,000 yards, had 3,006 yards, 3,600 yards passing. He had like 36 touchdowns to like 9 interceptions, then ran for like 900 yards. And he didn't win because of, my GOAT, Joe Montana. But that's Joe Montana, but yeah, that was one of the biggest injustices in the league history.
Bigger than Breeze in 2011?
And yeah, but I'm talking about dual threat quarterback.
Okay.
Dual threat.
No, I'm just talking about quarterback in general, champ.
But you're absolutely right. People can argue me down all day. And this is coming from a Falcons fan. That year, Drew Brees, 13-3, and led the league in every statistical category with a bottom 5 defense. He should have won that MVP that year over Rodgers. I don't care what anybody says. I'll argue that till cows come home. But I have to put Lamar at 3. I know he's going to bring me at least to the playoffs every single year. I don't have to worry about getting off to these slow starts in the season. He's the modern day version of Peyton Manning. The only difference is he's a dual threat quarterback and Peyton wasn't. He's going to give you great regular seasons. The thing is, can you name me one season, as far as regular seasons goes, that can top, out of Joe Burrow, that can top any of Lamar Jackson's regular seasons?
Patrick Mahomes' 2018 season when he won the MVP, and Mahomes when he won the second Super Bowl against the Eagles. That was when Mahomes threw for.
No, I'm talking about Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
I keep it a buck. I keep it a buck. All right. As far as Joe Burrow go, when you look at just his year last year, you can't fault him for the defense. He's probably if the Cincinnati Bengals make the playoffs with that defense, Joe Burrow is probably winning the MVP.
Again.
Not to mention,
so you can't fault him for that.
Not to mention, champ, we talked about Mike Brown, how cheap he is as an owner.
Yeah,
we know that.
Statistically, is there any season that you can put Joe Burrow against Lamar Jackson and say, yeah? No. There's not that one season that statistically you can put Joe Burrow stats against Lamar Jackson's and say he should have won the MVP. Even last year, one of his best seasons. If he would have made the playoff, people say he would have won the MVP. Are we sure about that?
Oh, I'm 1,000% sure. With that defense, I'm 1,000% sure. Yeah, bro. Cincinnati, that defense, they get to the playoffs. Come on, champ.
Had they made the playoffs, champ, they would have. He would.
Had they made the playoffs, he's winning. He's winning MVP. Had they made the playoffs, he's winning it. Yes, he is.
You had a QB that threw for over 4,000 yards and had over 900 yards. And then you had the most valuable player, which I don't blame them for having Josh Allen as the most valuable player. I don't have them for that because if you look at it, he didn't have a true number one receiver. He had a bunch of rookies going around. He didn't have that offensive onslaught. So I don't blame them for giving Josh Allen.
Not to mention he cut back on the turnovers because that was an issue that Josh Allen had since he came out of the draft. Since he came out of the draft, he led the NFL in turnovers. And you also mentioned, champ, hey, we got to be consistent because the previous year, Lamar Jackson won the MVP in 2023, and then he didn't have the eye-popping numbers like Dak Prescott or Tua had. But if you take him out of the equation, where would Baltimore be? Just like with Buffalo. I had Josh Allen win the MVP. You were telling me MV3 for Lamar Jackson because first to throw for 4,000, rush for 900, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You look at those numbers, that's Aaron Rodgers-esque numbers. And he did it with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. But, Champ, I do agree with BRF from the standpoint, if Burrow had at least an ounce of a good enough defense, he definitely would have had more of a chance to win the MVP, Champ. He would have, I'm not saying he would have won it, but he would have had more of a chance, though, to win the MVP. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying he wins it because I look at it like this. He runs the table and gets the Cincinnati Bengals to the playoffs running the table. How did and I don't have the number and I can't check the number, so I don't have his numbers from last year, so I can't really pull up what he
I'll
did.
look it up
But
for you.
yeah, but I'm just saying he runs the table, and even though they lost both games against the Ravens, Joe Burrow torched them both games. Both games. It was the defense's fault they lost.
If you
They
look at
run the
Burrow's,
table. Yeah,
if you
because I know you're going to pull the stats up.
4,918 yards, led the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns. He threw 43 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions with a QBR on a scale of 0 to 100, 74.7, which is third in the NFL in QBR.
He runs the table. He's winning that award. Them numbers are insane.
And plus, Champ, to add on to Joe Burrow, you have made the argument. You, of all people, you've said it before, quarterback cannot throw behind his back. Even though Champ with the glasses, even though he looks like the bigger version of Rest His Soul, the late, great Johnny Cochran, you have been a supporter for offensive linemen.
Yes, I have.
Quarterback cannot throw behind his back. You
Don't
have
say the
made
line
that
right there.
argument.
Don't say the line. Don't say the line. Don't say the line. Don't say the line. Don't say the line.
I'm not going to say the lie. I'm not going to say the lie. But even if I say it, I mean, I am kind of speaking the truth. If
If it don't fit, you must have quit. Oh, God.
But that being said, Chip, you have made the argument. Hell, if I'm Joe Burrow and if I don't get, and if with the offensive line, that's been an issue. And if they don't find a way to take care of my two targets, hell, do I retire, leave Cincinnati, and somewhere else someone's going to pay me? Because you've made that argument for Joe Burrow. That's what you've endorsed Joe Burrow to do if they didn't re-sign both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Yes, I did, and I have. But the thing is, like I stated, I believe that if I'm going to have my franchise where I want it to be, I'm taking Lamar over Joe. And like I stated, they've gotten off to a lot of slow starts with him starting at the helm. They've gotten off to a lot of slow starts.
That is true.
You don't get off to those
disregard
slow starts. You don't get off to those slow starts, especially in a blood and guts division like the AFC North, and expect to win anything. Even when they made it to the Super Bowl, got off to a very, very slow start. But the thing is, you have to look at who is statistically winning, and guess what? You have to look at who that dual threat that Lamar has, and the fact that he's been winning MVPs. And like I said, people can knock him all they want to, but the thing is, he's went to an AFC championship. He's went there, and quiet as it's kept, nobody outside of Jalen Hurts has beaten Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Nobody has beaten Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage. So the thing is, I'm taking Lamar. I don't mind Josh Allen being at number 2, because if you really want me to be honest with you, I've had a lot of criticism for the Buffalo Bills franchise. I had a lot of criticism. I think they're not doing a good job about James Cook. I think he had a lot of, no disrespect to his wide receiver core, I don't think he had an onslaught I don't think they prepared for when Stephon Diggs left outside of the draft. I don't think
Not to mention Sean McDermott. He was almost on the hot seat.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So with that being said, I don't mind Josh Allen being at number 2 right behind. Because if you take Josh Allen off their team right now with the roster that they have, it's pretty much, they might win a game. So I don't have no problem with him being the second best quarterback in the league, according to executive. But the third best has to be Lamar. Then I put Joe there. And then Jaden Daniels, like I said, he was the focal point of that team. The minute you think about the Washington Commanders, oh, Jaden Daniels. He was the focal point of that team. And like I stated, I mean, we was getting on to Cliff Kingsbury, me and you both, PSP, about the
I
fast
certainly
start,
did.
the fast starts that they would have in Arizona, and then they would slow down during the course of the next season.
I told you, and did I not also say I also at one point I wanted Cliff Kingsbury gone because at some point we would start to see him not make those second half adjustments. But Cliff Kingsbury, to his credit, he proved me wrong. The problem with Washington, while they lost that game against Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game, one, they were outmatched. Philly was just a better team from top to bottom. If Washington had any chance, was because of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I've told you before about our defense. I'm going to be the antithesis of you, Chan, because you defend the offensive line. I'm going to be when it comes to the defensive line, because I kept trying to tell you about Montez Sweat. Now, I had no problem moving on from Chase Young because of the durability problems, but I told you how valuable Montez Sweat was. And and mind you, Ron Payne did not play in that NFC Championship game.
No, indeed.
And I know you wanted to get your hands on Deron Payne as well. You wanted your Atlanta Falcons to sign him in free agency. I have no. If you want to tell me Jaden Daniels, given the circumstances, what he had to deal with Washington, making me think more and more or less about Daniel Snyder, because we all know how atrocious he was as an owner. Hey, I got no problem with that. And Dan Quinn has done a terrific job as the head coach for Washington, but he still has the same issue, just like with Dallas. He can't find a way to stop the run. Washington was 30th in the NFL in stopping the run last year. And we'll get into Washington just a little bit. But like I said, I would pick him over Jaden Daniels. Not because I'm a Washington fan and not because Jalen Hurts plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. If I'm looking at the eye test, Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, is a better passer. He has a better arm. I think he's a better runner, more dynamic runner. Now, if you're talking about someone who's more spectacular, faster, I get the edge to Jaden Daniels. Now, if you want someone who could run over people, I get that edge to Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is at best top 10. Baker, I ain't got no problem with Baker at top 10. Because if you look at the past 2 seasons with Baker Mayfield, he's right now clearly. Yes, right now, he is the best quarterback in the NFC South. Hopefully, Michael Penix Jr. will have a lot to say heading into 2025. But I got no problem with Stafford there. Stafford, to BRF's point, definitely has a case for a top 5. Justin Herbert, again, it all comes back to that playoff game against the Houston Texans. It's not the fact that you lost, how you looked while you lost. And that his performance, inexcusable. Now, Champ mentioned the operative term, grace. This is the first year with Jim Harbaugh. We know how valuable, we know how much Justin Herbert means to the Chargers organization. But if he continuously has lackluster performances in the playoffs, we're going to have more and more conversations about, is he an elite quarterback? I think he's an elite talent, no doubt about it. 6'6", 230, 240, has mobility, strong arm other than Allen. I think Justin Herbert has the strongest arm in the NFL other than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But the first playoff game, we gave him a pass, Champ, because of Brandon Staley, the head coach. We cannot give him a pass in that one.
No, we can't. And he has, when you talk about quarterbacks who has a lot to prove, I'll put him and Kyler at the top of that list. I put him and Kyler at the top of that list.
Because, I like that. Agree.
Because when you think about Kyler, remember, let's piggyback. Let's go back to what we talked about earlier with Cliff Kingsbury. The verdict was out on him. They're gonna go to a fast start, and then they're gonna falter in the late season because of Cliff Kingsbury. Well, now that he has a cooperative quarterback in Jaden Daniels, you saw that didn't happen. You know, it wasn't that real jump off a cliff performance like you saw in Arizona. So the verdict is out. Now your offensive coordinator is doing even better with somebody else at the helm. Like I stated, Jaden Daniels is a hell of a lot more of a cooperative quarterback with Cliff Kingsbury than Kyler was. So I have to say this. There's no two quarterbacks with more to prove this year than Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert. Now, people are going to take the easy way out and say, well, Dak Prescott. The only reason why we're going to say that is because he plays for America's team. That's the only reason why we say that, and we want to troll the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just keep
Not
it
to
all.
mention the contract.
Not to mention that contract. When you get a fat contract like that, of course, people are going to start throwing knives at you. But that's the easy way out. Because the thing is, I don't think that he can beat the Eagles at this point. The Eagles are still the team to beat in the NFC East. And regardless of the move that the Washington Commanders made, I think that Dan Quinn is going to put this defense in a by committee situation, sort of like he did with our Atlanta Falcons that year. I think he's going to put them in a committee type of situation, and these players that he's got is going to be able to make more plays. So I think that division is becoming a blood and guts division. It's becoming slowly but surely. And you got to take into account the situation that the Giants are in at this point. You know, they got some of the best pass rushers money can buy. So you got to think about how their defense is going to be. You got to think about what Jackson Dart can do and what the offense can do now that they're fully healthy at this point. So that's a true blood and guts division at this point in time. But I think there's no two quarterbacks with more to prove than Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray.
I agree, especially considering the fact that Kyler, just like Justin Herbert, was drafted. Kyler with the number 1 overall pick. And Kyler Murray, his first 3 years in the NFL, you know, offensive rookie of the year, 2 Pro Bowl appearances. During his third year, the Cardinals went off to that hot start. Had not been for the Cardinals falling apart, you know, Kyler Murray mid-season was the favorite to win the league MVP.
Yes.
And Kyler is a top 10 talent in the NFL. I think Kyler Murray, when he has a big-time year, is definitely in the conversation for a top 10 quarterback, and I'm rooting for him because, of course, he went to my alma mater, one of my schools, the school that I love, Oklahoma. But Arizona, still, unfortunately, it's still that the Rams division to lose at this particular point. And with the Chargers, Herbert, okay, the Chiefs are still there, but the Chiefs, we expect them to regress, considering the fact that they traded Joe Thuney to Chicago. They haven't made any spectacular moves. And then when you look at the Denver Broncos, they found their quarterback in Bo Nix. And Sean Payton has done a good enough job as the head coach. Patrick Surtain is coming off Defensive Player of the Year. I think the executives and the scouts, rightfully so, voted him as the best DB in football. And I can't argue with that.
No.
And then you have to take into account the Raiders. With Tom Brady as the minority owner, Pete Carroll there. They brought in Ashton Genty. Geno, only time will tell. We'll see how that goes.